Well, hello everyone. How are you? I am excited to be here with all of you we are doing the last, I think it's the last chapter, the last chapter from the Yes You Can Get Pregnant. This is supposed to be my book club episode, but we had to adjust it because we have a special guest coming on, and I'm super excited for it. So years ago, in 2014, when I wrote Yes You Can Get Pregnant, I interviewed two doctors in the back section, getting inside the head of your doctor. So it was chapter 11, getting inside the head of your doctor. Top reproductive endocrinologists speak. And I had the luxury at the time to interview two doctors, Dr. Hugh Taylor. He was at the time, I think he's still there at Yale Reproductive Medicine, and Dr. Janelle Luke, who has been a colleague and I have referred to so much over the years. And so Dr. Luke has decided to come live with me today I asked her a series of questions in 2014, and I'm going to ask those of her again today. And then I actually have a couple extra bonus questions that I'm going to throw in for all of you. So I thought it would be really fun because, you know, I like to see too how perspectives shift over the years. I mean, this book now is 8 years old, and things are always changing and we're learning more. And Dr. Luke is now at a different clinic, her own clinic, and she's had so much success with women in their 40s, with women with low AMH, high FSH. And so I really want to see her perspective and maybe how it's shifted over time. So now we're just kind of waiting for her to come on and join, right? I don't think I see her yet. Beth, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not see her yet. So we will let Dr. Luke come on. And just so you guys can anticipate the questions I'm going to be asking, things like, from your clinical perspective, do you believe a woman at the age of 40 do you believe a woman can safely wait until she's 40 to get pregnant? From your clinical perspective, do you feel women need to do IVF? What's your take on natural IVF? So that was kind of like new and, just starting. People weren't doing natural IVFs. Someone like her was, which is why I was sending. She was at New Hope Fertility at the time in the city, as was Dr. Murphy. It's so funny. Two of my still colleagues and buddies in the world of reproductive medicine, they both worked together at New Hope 8 years ago. Now they're both on their own, separate, and still, they collaborate. And obviously I collaborate with both of them and respect them both tremendously and send patients to both of them on a regular basis. There's new things that they're doing like PRP and ozone. So I want her take on that. And then I want her take kind of on, natural IVFs and the direction we've gone with that, what we're seeing in older women, how they're responding, or is it age, or is it more like, ovarian reserve related and less about age. I want to know her take on pre-genetic diagnostic testing. I did ask her that back in the day because it was pretty brand new. I said, what is your take on pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, PGD? Are you at all concerned about how PGD can affect embryonic development? So my team is checking in with her team because now we're 4 minutes in. I love her. She does run a little late at times, so we'll be patient. She said our center, so she was at New Hope, is publishing our own PGD data, which is now New Hope has gotten in trouble for some of their data stuff from back in the day, but we won't get into that maybe. In this coming year, we have found that PGD has significantly improved implantation rate, pregnancy rate, live birth rate of embryos that have normal genetic makeup. I believe that PGD is the future of IVF. This is what she said. It has the highest success rate and is very precise and accurate for some patients. So then I asked her about acupuncture, I asked her about diet, lifestyle. Maybe while we're waiting for her, I'm going to go over. So I asked the same questions. I'm with Dr. Luke's team. She's finishing up with a patient. Hope to have her on in 5 minutes. Okay, let's see if I can, for the next 5 minutes, what I'm going to do is read to you what Dr. Hugh Taylor had said. And what's funny is I was introduced to both Dr. Taylor and Dr. Luke through separate people, right? And Dr. Taylor came through a family friend who actually worked up at Yale. And so I interviewed him first. Lovely, lovely man. And then when I get introduced to Dr. Luke, I tell her, she said, oh, who else have you interviewed for the book? And I was also interviewing Dr. Braverman for the book. In Dr. Braverman typical fashion, he could not get me all of the answers by the time I needed them for my deadline. So we kind of scratched Dr. Braverman in the book. But what's funny is Dr. Luke studied under Dr. Taylor at Yale. Isn't that the funniest thing? And it was just kind of like, of course, I think very synchronistic. But so I said to Dr. Taylor, how do you, because he's a big epigenetic researcher. He's really into the researching of how environmental toxins, especially endocrine disrupting chemicals, are impacting fertility in future generations. So I said, how do you see epigenetics affecting fertility? Epigenetics is a huge issue, he said. This is 8 years ago, guys, 8 years ago. And I give myself kudos there because I've been talking about epigenetics for fucking 12 years. Okay. Epigenetics is a huge issue. It is not well understood. Clearly, epigenetics is having an impact on fertility. Science shows that fetal exposures, meaning exposures that your mother had to environmental agents / chemicals when she was pregnant with you, clearly impact women in their fertile years. So what we're seeing is the impact of these harmful environmental toxins on future fertility, so future generations. And that's kind of the premise of what I always preach, right? Women who heal themselves heal their children's children. So we're not just talking about transgenerational traumas, like emotional traumas and what we pass down from that emotional space and nature versus nurture, but we're also talking about what we consumed in our pregnancy, what we consumed leading up to our pregnancy, and how it's impacting our children's health for generations, 2 generations. So epigenetics is the science of how we live our life determines whether genes turn on or turn off. So not that our genes are set in stone. And what we see is these environmental toxins, like the ones in your bath and beauty products, like the pesticides in your non-organic foods. Oh my gosh, they do a number on your fertility, but then also your children's fertility and their children's fertility if you don't control for it. And so Dr. Hugh Taylor is a huge researcher in this field. So then I asked him, can exposure to environmental agents, endocrine disrupting chemicals affect a woman's fertility? Laura Fletcher, mwah, miss you. Can they affect a woman's fertility later in life? So can exposures to environmental toxins and chemicals affect a woman's fertility? This is what a top reproductive endocrinologist says. These influences impact fertility. The earlier in development the exposure, the greater the risk. Environmental agents are clearly leading to infertility. When it comes to PCOS and endometriosis, there is no clear genetic cause. You can inherit a propensity to develop PCOS or endo. However, heredity alone is not enough. These diseases result from complex interplay between genetic risk, developmental programming, and environmental cues. So what he is saying is the exposures trigger the disease, which is epigenetics. That's what epigenetics is all about. So you're not born with PCOS. You have a propensity towards PCOS. You're not born with endometriosis. You're not born with recurrent pregnancy loss. You have a propensity. You have certain triggers. And then how you live your life determines whether they manifest, which also means how you live your life determines whether they manage themselves and you can, if quote unquote, fix them so you can get pregnant. Hormones can be changed. Genetic predispositions can be shifted. You can amplify your predisposition in the way of health versus the way of disease. And this is, again, not just Amy talk. This is a top reproductive endocrinologist talk. With nearly 30%, this is my question to him, with nearly 30% of fertility issues being diagnosed as idiopathic. So that means no known cause, unexplained infertility, right? Do you think the majority of these idiopathic cases are actually misdiagnosed or an undiagnosed autoimmune condition? Now, I have to tell you the backstory to this question. When I was introduced to this guy, I went, you know me, I'm a research scientist, went down the rabbit hole of all his research. And I saw he was looking at the same things I was looking at. Fausta, I owe you a freaking response. I remembered that you texted me, email me, and then I will not forget to respond to you. But the answer is yes. See, I'm catching up on communications with people I've missed as I see them pop on the live. But so I had gone down this rabbit hole already. I'm writing Yes, You Can Get Pregnant, and you guys have heard this story before, but all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second. all this PCOS stuff, all this endometriosis stuff, it all kind of looks like, acts like an autoimmune condition. Are all these unexplained infertility cases actually an undiagnosed or a misdiagnosed or a mismanaged immune issue, inflammatory issue? So I say that to him. We get on the phone and he's like curious about me, my background. He knows I did research science at UCSD, so he's curious about who I worked with, blah, blah, blah. We're like talking shop. And I said to him, I was like, I got to tell you, you know, I really think that endo and PCOS are going to start to be looked at more as an autoimmune condition. Do you think that most of these unexplained, this idiopathic 30% fertility, unexplained infertility, 30% of fertility challenges are unexplained. Do you think they're actually mismanaged or misdiagnosed autoimmune conditions? And he says to me, because he was older than me, he said, young lady, you are on to something. And he was like so impressed with, you know, my level of research. And he said every single woman that's coming to our clinic now, we're screening for Hashimoto's, which is thyroid autoimmune condition, which I talk about in here, and celiac, which I also talk about in here, which is a common autoimmune. And he's like, we are floored at how many women with unexplained infertility have one or both of these conditions. And then endometriosis, layer that in, which is technically an inflammatory disease that has autoimmune characteristics. Same with PCOS, but they all act very similarly in the body. So anyway, I say to him, with nearly 30% of fertility issues being diagnosed as idiopathic, do you think the majority of these cases are actually undiagnosed or misdiagnosed autoimmune conditions? He says some idiopathic cases are 100% autoimmune, but not all of them. When it comes to infertility, there's so much more that we don't understand. Impacts from autoimmune diseases, environmental triggers, damage from other diseases all play a role in ovarian aging and infertility. So again, coming back to what I always preach, your fertility is an extension of your health. It is not separate. We can't just take fucking NAD and improve our egg quality and think that's it. You can't do that. It doesn't work. You have to get to the root of the challenge, right? And so, you know, this is stuff I've been talking about, why I get so fired up. This is 8 years old, guys. 8 years old I've been talking about this, right? You can't out-supplement a crappy lifestyle or crappy diet. You have to look at all the layers. And I said, do you think age is our biggest issue? And he says, age is certainly not the biggest issue. That's what he says. Age is certainly not the biggest issue. It is a large issue, and women need to be made aware of how their fertility changes with age. What are your thoughts on egg freezing? He said, I would recommend it if there was a woman who is 35 and hasn't yet had children. And then this is the question I asked both of them. But is it true that frozen embryos are much more stable than frozen eggs when thawing? Yes, but egg freezing techniques are getting better and better. When freezing eggs for future use, you need more eggs than if you are using embryos. However, to create an embryo, we need sperm. Yeah, I know, SWG, nutrition, pregnant at 43. Some may not be at the point in their life where they're ready to commit. So say that the same woman in a few years winds up needing to do IVF. Would you use her frozen eggs or fresh eggs? And I have a great story of hope I'm going to do soon on a woman that froze her eggs 38 and 40 and didn't work with me and had decent, oh, Dr. Luke is here. Anyway, I'll save that story. But anyway, 44 and we got 4 PGS normals. 4 PGS normals after 6 sent off. 4 normals. The doctor was floored. She's 6 years older. Better egg quality. Yeah. Dr. Luke, all right, I'm gonna make you come in. Let's see. So I think you have to ask to join me, Dr. Luke. Let's see if I can, or can I invite, okay, I can invite you to join. I've invited you to join. And let's see if it worked. She's requested as well. Let's see. Well, I invited you. I'm going to accept. There we go. Hi. You did it. You made it. All right, guys. Here she comes. Hi, Mr. Nice Eyes. How are you? All right. Come on. Accept. I'm accepting your invitation, your request to join, Dr. Luke. Do you see it? Let's do this. I like this. I love when I see all these familiar faces. Thank you guys so much for your support and love. Okay, come on. When someone joins, anyone. Dr. Luke, are you on your phone or on your computer? I love how you knew it was you. Because on your computer, you can't join. You have to be on a phone. I think you know that. let's see, now she's unable to join. So anyway, I'll go back to that case. So follow the egg quality diet, is now 43/44, going through a egg retrieval cycle using donor sperm, and floored. We got 6 to, I think she got 9, 6 were sent off, 4 were normal, 4. Her doctor, who was at CCRM, was like, yeah, these results are ridiculous. This is amazing. Okay, sorry, I'm going to use a different phone. Okay, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait because why not? I have until about 12:20 and then I gotta hang up on you, Dr. Luke, so let's do this. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about her. Now, this is her bio from 8 years ago, so it's changed, but she's a board certified specialist in OBGYN and reproductive endocrinology. As well, at the time, she was co-director of the Diminished Ovarian Reserve Program at New Hope. She is an innovator in her field, employing a combination of conventional stimulation methods and using natural stimulation protocol methods, meaning no medication, to synthesize the most optimal stimulation method for each individual patient. Dr. Luke and I discussed topics from can a woman safely wait to her 40s to get pregnant to what type of dietary recommendations she thinks are best for fertility. Here's what she had to say. So let's try you one more time, my love. Hopefully this works. Fingers crossed. Sorry, guys. I appreciate your patience.
God.
Here she is. You did
Thank
it.
you. Oh my God. Hi, I think I need to buy a new phone.
Hi. It's okay.
How are you?
Oh
Oh my God, what a pleasure to see you.
No, I've missed you.
Hopefully you're COVID safe, and apologize to our audience. Dr. Luke does run
it's okay.
So.
I kept them busy. I read them because remember, this is the interview. So what we're going to discuss is the interview I did with you 8 years ago.
How long ago was that?
8
First of all,
years.
congratulations on your new book.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. But
Am I able to audible? Is it okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're great.
Okay.
So I kept them busy reading through Dr. Taylor's responses and told them too the backstory on how you studied with Dr. Taylor. Isn't that so funny? Now you're frozen, young lady. Okay.
So sorry. Dr. Luke is not going to touch anything. I was trying to change the volume, but anyway.
Hi.
Hi.
So how are you? Tell me what's going on.
How are you? How's life? How's COVID? I know we have pleasantries and lots of audience watching us, so.
Yeah, I know. You're doing good though? You guys are keeping busy?
I'm doing okay. It's been a tough year. We're family, families, and I have kids. It's just really tough. I become a kindergarten teacher and elementary teacher.
So are they full homeschooled right now or no?
Well, they were, and then, there's, but it's very interesting. I actually want to start another Instagram just to talk about education. Because my education has been in America and in Hong Kong, so it is really interesting. I've never, I learned so much about that curriculum now.
I know. I have a kindergartner too, and it's snap words. Our life is snap words.
Yes. Amy, oh my God, yes, you and I met. So for the audience, and I heard you introduced me already for quite some time. Thank you so much, Amy, for introducing me.
From 8 years ago. So now you're at your own facility. Generation Next. Generation. Why do I always screw it up? Generation Next. So I wanted to go through and ask you the same questions. Is that okay? And see where you stand now.
Please. I don't think I would ever change my answer to much.
I don't think
go ahead.
Either. You're like me. It's just like we're set in our ways, and that's that, firm. But I think we evolve and see things,
That's right.
So from your clinical perspective, do you believe a woman can safely wait until she's 40 to get pregnant?
40? Did you say 40?
Question though, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to clear.
40.
40. Is it safe to get pregnant after 40? Is that okay? I just want to make sure.
Or do you think she can wait until 40 to get pregnant?
She can wait to get pregnant. Okay. So it is a very interesting way of thinking about it. First of all, just because of my fertility and my study in fertility, as well as watching many women who trying, so hard after age struggle. I never usually intently or will actively say, hey, you should wait until 40 to get pregnant.
Yes.
I don't think that sentence ever have come out of my mouth, like saying, hey, you should wait.
Do you think there's hope after 40? I mean, I know.
That's a different one. Yeah. So I think there's still hope of definitely getting pregnant after the age of 40. I do think in terms of, I'm now, so let's be clear, hopefully people not just cut an excerpt of me talking.
Exactly. Yeah.
They are, it's true, women are very, very healthy. There are, majority of the patients I'm seeing on general obesity, many things in the CDC, looking is great. So we are all, lots of patients are more, I think the new generation, as well as the timing of women empowerment, we're very self-conscious about diet, with our empowerment. And I do think that does affect the biological clock. However, because biological clock is intrinsically in the genes. So the biological clock, even though, again, you're doing great work, acupuncturist, diet, nutrition, but you cannot really reverse it too much. As a result, I do not encourage patients.
Yeah, we wouldn't encourage. But say a woman was in the predicament, like I was in, right? I didn't meet my husband until I was 39, right? So it was like, that was the option for me. But I agree, like it's not always an encouraged thing. However, I know you have great success with women even into their late 40s, to be honest, where you've helped make some, and this is a question that came to me now that it's not in the book, and you might not be able to answer it, but do you think age weighs as heavy as FSH or AMH? I mean, I think FSH is not as static, but do you take that all into account? Say she's got a great AMH and she's 43. Does that just mean you have more eggs to work with, or you can get more?
Yeah, that's right. Age is always trump the blood work. And I think the world of REI really focus on this stuff down here, the FSH, the AMH, because that's the only blood work, of course. As a doctor, you focus on the diagnostics. You don't focus, we don't say no to someone or yes to someone just because on their age. However, age is, so I always believe in a woman who is 32, as you know, diminished ovarian reserve is my love, my passion. I always love to be outside the box.
She's a magician.
I remember patients, I was at, okay, not to mention any institution, but very traditional, great institution in the past where they really didn't understand the AMH and how to, the two types of women I felt like the REI is us, the new generation, going to modify it, like Amy and using alternative medicine and how to, really redefine medicine in a different way in this coming 10 years. But one of the things is two types of patient where I felt like the traditional way of thinking have failed them. One is patient with diminished ovarian reserve, or doesn't make a younger age. So you're judging her ability by saying, oh, you can't because your AMH is 0.1, which is, don't do that. Or don't go for retrieval because, your AMH is 0.1, or we don't get the 3 follicles. I don't know why 3. Is that baseball in America? I don't know. 3 is always a thing here that I learned. And in my medical school, is that a medical school?
But it's not how you work. It's not how Murray works. Like you're happy
I don't know.
You're happy
it's
with
a baseball. 3, you're out, right? It's 3. Okay. I'm a big basketball fan, though, and football. Anyway, so then the second thing is women who are older. Is fascinating. I discover why. This is have lots of things with the women empowerment, the forces of where we are. Because not many women, maybe my mom's generation, Amy and I are the same age, but like older, like they are getting pregnant at 20s, right? I think my mom got, so that trend, and also women's empowerment, lots more CEO. I'm just giving it more medical students who are female. I heard the first female medical school student is 1960. Horrible. So but they're coming. The wave is coming. More CEO. So I think that also was very different as a result. The rise of REI and how it was started, which is great clinical medicine, was for the younger group. The higher dose stimulate.
And
how much research? Yes, and how much research now
right? And that's
focus
what
on the
talking
style
about,
stimulation.
the
Yeah,
more
sorry, go
natural
ahead.
approach, or like lower stim. And so I think this is a question, like I ask it similarly in here, where what's your take on natural IVF? What population do you think this approach is best for? But I would also say though, what I want to hear you talk about is, do you believe less meds can render better quality in a certain population?
Yes, I do. I truly believe it. I am trying to do my studies here. It's very hard because you have a bias, right? I'm Dr. Luke. Someone came from some, I'm in New York City, so lots of big names do come here after 2 or 3 cycles elsewhere.
Right? We get the most challenging cases.
They come here, and then I also will not want to do and the way I talk, I'm just 1 is 1, 2 is 2. But I try to be as clear as myself, not to be false hope but I would say, well, let's try this. And basically, I'm trying something that they didn't do, which is very obvious. And then Einstein would say, repeat the same thing and expecting a different result is the meaning of insanity. So they try something different. And then the issue is, how does that will help? Is it because of my stimulation, or is it because the 5th cycle? Right. And so I do believe it's not the quantity get that to the baby. Sometimes it's which egg is coming which month to get to the baby. So there's some patient with challenge. Well, that means if I get
months.
That's right.
Which nature shows that too.
We don't know. Because the issue is, how come I got that pregnant? And this is, our start date is coming out from Generation X, which more clear. I mean, I need numbers, like COVID vaccine has numbers. I don't know how you feel about COVID vaccine, but so I was going to lead to is why not every doctor does it. Well, us doctors practice of standard treatment. I know you guys are going to be like, let's say cardiology, life and death. There's no getting 2 eggs versus getting 1 egg is different, right? So they do like this multi-billion, same as vaccine.
I know.
It was a multi-billion dollar research.
You don't have the population.
I don't have the funds. So then if we're going to do research, it's now a case basis. And then generation, and we're trying to get some data out there, even though there's going to be lots of critique. And when you guys reading papers, and it's going to say,
acupuncture data, it's hard. It's the same with nutrition data. It's very hard because there's so many other variables to control for. Because it could have been her 5th IVF, and now she's completely changed her diet. She's trying a new doctor. She's on the supplements for a year now. Like there's so many layers. I totally agree. But I feel like what I see, and I've been in this a long time too now, and and I see it from you and like other, I call the boutique fertility clinics. That's what I put you guys as, boutiques. Less stims tend to render better quality, and like even in women maybe in their late 30s, but it's not always, right? It's not always the case. Like I've had girls in their 40s, at certain clinics where they're doing 300 follistim for however many days, and they're getting good embryos. So it's not, but it's a case-by-case basis. And I do think that's where you're a bit of a magician when it comes to that, where you can work on.
I am. You just started a new paper. We are starting a research branch on our 2nd floor. One of the things we may be start doing this coming year, I don't want to release too much research secrets here, but is to really see if oversaturation on the what will happen to the cells. So
with too much MSH, right? Yeah, I agree. I think there has to. I mean, anyway, I agree. So you guys, but
it's clearly but let's talk about study. Random. So what is randomized control for your audience? Is that I'm blinded. Which is really hard. How can you blind a doctor not look at medical records to treat a patient? You have to. But a real research is blinded, not subsidized. So it's like you put someone, so it's all free. Then you put the number of amounts. So vaccine was like that, was blinded. Supposedly you don't know, and everyone just get the shot. What shot. So you need to receive the same shot, whatever shot. Someone's placebo shot, maybe just water injecting. And that is how you do it. So no matter what, they will also not be blinded because it's stimulation, so safety, right? So then, however, there are limited case studies already done in the last 10 years on mild. So we just want your audience to know mild stimulation and conventional high stim has not really had a significant results difference between the two, as in live birth.
But
So
that's
if
a very
nice so that
thing
one
to
has
hear,
been
though.
done. But the cost and analysis for these two groups is tremendously different.
Yeah, I can
Because
see that.
now the mild stimulation, so then my argument to this patient who has been doing it elsewhere or is that why would you do the same thing? You're going to lose another $5,000 because that five maybe get
Spend
you
less
another
money.
cycle to get to the
less
egg. Because
intense on your body. I think you would
that's
agree
right.
with that too. It's a less, because I mean, that's right. A lot of times we're moving to FETs or frozen transfers because maybe they were so hyperstimulated, their bodies aren't ready for the transfer too. I mean, I think there's research to show the FETs are greater success rate, but is it because of how stimulated they were and then they had time to kind of come back to zero? I don't know. Just another thought in my mind.
Absolutely. And then also the response, I do believe, I always see the ovary like a plant or a horse. Let's say a horse. You know, they're tired, they need to run the race because you need more eggs. But if the horse is tired, you can't keep on hitting the horse, which I feel like the FSH is that. It's like stimulating.
Exactly. It's overstimulating. I think it causes, and then it can cause it to crash too, right? And then
that's right. So what do you do to a horse? The way I explain to my patient, give some water, you try to help her. So estrogen patch, sometimes DHEA, sometimes acupuncture.
Encouraging folliculogenesis, not blasting it, right? You know?
Right.
Okay, so I want to, do you still feel the same way about PGD testing? What's your stance on PGD these days?
That is such a great question, Amy. Wow, you really know the trend of patients' feeling. So last 10 years has been a crazy PGTA kind of, I feel like even centers are adjusting. I'm seeing patients when they transfer to me, I'm like, oh, you're not tested. Weird. So the centers are also changing. So
and then they're also saying if you have a PGS normal and you get pregnant and you're over the age of 40, you should still do a CVS. Do you know that? Now they used to say,
now even CVS. Oh my God.
Now you should do a CVS or an amnio. So it's like, wait, so what are you telling me? So there could be an abnormality even though you tested the embryo and everything's normal? Yeah, and that's what we're finding.
I think with, this is also from some of the bigger biopsy places where, you know, we send it out. I know some centers, they do their own biopsies when they have enough volume. We send it out, which is great. You send out.
You do Cooper, right? Yeah.
Double check, and they do like over the nation. Sometimes they do other big institutions too. They have about 300,000 biopsies in this place that they do all the biopsies. And there's only three, I don't know, it's like monopoly now, but there are only three big labs. And they will say, and they will very clearly say, yes, there are percentages, there's an error. Either it's caused by human or have no human, it's just scientific error. Placental mosaicism versus, you know, any division
or something.
Different cell lines that getting expressed. The issue here is that I do believe that not everyone is meant for biopsy. So the standard way, when I told you about the two types of patient where I felt like our protocol when I was in my education was not really attended to, with the diminished ovarian reserve and the older patients. Because the rise of REI was not for them. The rise of REI was for the younger patient who cannot get pregnant or who has a tooth surgery, whatever. So that was the rise of REI in the past, or unexplained infertility. So younger patients. So now PGTA, is it for everyone? No, I do not think so. There are two types of people that I do recommend PGTA. One, if have loss of quantity. So they have 10 embryos. I don't know what to do. Which is what REI is built for. It's really built for that. When you know, they are the patient that is like, oh, every REI says like, oh, come, you know, they should get pregnant anywhere they go. Then there's and they don't have, they have 10. To explain more to your audience, they cannot transfer all 10 in. They're like, and then they will take that 30% risk or 2%, whatever risk. I also want them to choose boy, you know, they may want the luxury of choosing the gender. The second type of patient is miscarriages. So they keep on having miscarriage. And regardless of how many embryos they have, they may have a, Amy, are you good? Sorry, I know.
Can you hear me or no?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Yes. Okay. It's clear, very clear. I mean, actually, this is really amazing.
A phone call came through, and I had to, and then sorry.
Oh, okay. So the another problem is a patient with miscarriages. I do talk to them about, testing. I said, not testing, you guys similar having sex. And then some patient, well, it was too hard for me for miscarriage. So as a result, I had to come to you and I said, well, then test, you know.
Yeah,
so
so
those
it becomes more of like an emotional decision too. And then I think like a luxury decision almost. Like if I have plenty to test, then I should test them versus I have to test them all. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, it is but then when patients have done all this is fascinating. I just had a patient for a very big institution. They did the testing. She's 41, and she had 10 abnormal embryos. So every time she get blasts, like first 5 blasts from the first center, 5 blasts from the second IVF for the first center.
I know this patient, and now she's pregnant naturally. You did a first.
Oh no, actually no, we did IVF.
But we have.
So maybe a different. Maybe we had another one. Yes, I bet you and I have lots of. Oh, come on, Amy. This is not even a quantity.
But that one, anyway, go on with yours. Sorry, go on.
And we did another retrieval, and she looks at me. She's all distraught, right? She only had 1 more IVF cycle, and she had been testing 10, you know. I said, why don't we just transfer? So she was pregnant with twins. So this is a caveat. And she understands all the risks. I said, well, it can be both abnormal. And just want your audience to know, majority of abnormal embryos do not get implant. That's why when you have 12 months of sex, you do not have 12 months of miscarriage. You may have 1 or 2 most, and you don't have like 12 times of miscarriages. You can get pregnant. So she got pregnant, but 1 was a miscarriage, and one now the other one they did the MY, you know, all the prenatal, amnio, CVS, they're all normal. So she was so happy that she didn't test. But then
isn't that fascinating? So there, in that case, like in my head. And we have a similar case of the same thing happened. In my head, it's a couple things. She's been on the diet and the supplements longer. Maybe that impacted egg quality. You used a lot less meds.
Yes.
You went after quality, not quantity, and you did a fresh transfer. So it's like, there's all these questions of like, is the testing, was it accurate?
Oh, wait, she did a frozen embryo transfer.
Oh, she did an FET, okay.
So she freeze without testing. And this is also very interesting. That I'm trying to do for some of my patients. So everyone asks me this frozen and fresh. I do feel just from a nature, frozen embryo and also from logic, frozen embryo transfer also proven by data. Frozen embryo transfer always have a higher success rate than fresh. Well, why, Dr. Luke? Well, you're freezing and thawing and the embryo survives. So if you look at collective data on the whole world, obviously frozen has to be better than fresh. And fresh. Also logically is they are always stimulated, they feel not comfortable, they get a retrieval, they're more stressed. So, but then is it worth it to do, like, so this patient didn't test and do well for her, she needed the mental rest. She didn't, and she also wants to not test because of what happened. So it was very clean for me. But it's really hard to give that suggestion to patients sometimes. Just FYI, because they will say, well, if you are going to freeze, why not?
And then like lastly, we'll start to wrap up.
Yes.
PRP. I don't have this in the book because we weren't talking about PRP back then, but tell me where you're at with PRP as far as ovarian rejuvenation, egg quality impact.
Yes. Amy, actually, we have amazing data on PRP, and it is led by Dr. Jesse.
Tell me.
Yes, I will tell you a little bit, and I actually think when I was talking to you, I think we need to have a separate just on PRP section because it's fully on diminished ovarian reserve. So because there's so much data coming out, we are gathering. PRP is basically the idea of using a patient's plasma, so it's their own blood. It's not like some extra, chemical. Inside the blood, there's something called growth factors and plasma. So you spin down that. Okay, inside blood, what is it inside blood? There's some it's like inside the ocean water. What's there? There's some salt. Inside the blood, there's some red blood cells. There's some white blood cells. There's some plasma. There's some platelets. So if you go back to Google, I'm sorry to ask people Google, but there's some good information on what's inside on Wikipedia. So blood, there's different groups of cells and molecules, but one of them is growth factors that is circulating in our body right now and going.
And it's your own growth factors, like you said.
And it's your own growth factor. You're not using artificial processes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Then you trace some growth factors out, and then you inject back to the ovary. Now, there is some criteria for PRP. Dr. Hay, who is my colleague, who really started this whole process of PRP and has been doing really amazing work and techniques that he had developed. But basically, is the idea of injecting the growth factor specifically to the epithelium of the ovary. But certain patients we try not because it's also experimental. So we don't want to tell patients like, you know, I always tell patients I'm not snake oil doctor, like, oh, use this, you know, rub your back. So I do be very serious. This is a last resort. And usually we recommend it to patients when it is really the last resort. They're not menstruating. They are, but we also do not offer to patients who are on blood thinner sometimes. We need to adjust. We also not adjust to patients who have a history of cancer. So I have a patient with leukemia. We don't do that. We just don't know. I mean, it's all being common sense because there's no data, but we just want safety number one. And that is where the now that's the idea.
Are you seeing more recruitment like in the coming cycles, like more like increasing follicle count?
And we're seeing recruitment. We have right now one natural birth. It's not yet born. They can't because we started back in June.
How old?
She was how high FSH? She was 39, 40, actually 40. She was already skipping cycle when I got her. Well, not skipping. She was still cycling regularly with the first child.
Yeah. Okay.
She is totally her FSH was 107.
Wow.
And she was that kind of skipping, and suddenly we have an egg, and she did her own. So I didn't do. So she really didn't want to come back. She was breastfeeding, and at the third year she stopped, and she said, "Well, I'm menstruating now, doctor." I said, "Great." She had sex, but keep on having miscarriages. Then she came to me. It was too late because, like, not too late, but I'm like, FSH is 107. She's giving. I'm like, look, I'm sorry, but there's not much. And then I think Dr. Hay, you know, sometimes our monitoring. I know we are boutique side, but it's true. Dr. Hay sometimes help me to see my patients because of volume. And so Dr. Jesse's like, wait and talk to her. Somehow I didn't even ask them to do PR. I didn't bring that up. I think Dr. Hay was like, wait, I think you're a good candidate. They did PRP. She ovulated the following cycle, and they right now 26 natural. This is sex, and it should make sense. Sex because her tubes work, her egg works, the sperm works. Her first baby was actually an IUI. Was also not IVF.
Improving egg quality. Is that what you're saying? I mean, can we?
I don't know. I mean, right now these patients are like, well, she had got pregnant, so one can argue. So this is hard because one can argue maybe you didn't do the PRP. She ovulated, she was still having live birth. So I don't know.
Sure.
But for FSH 107, it's a little bit hard, but it can happen. Nature has happened. So that's why I'm still not saying, oh my God, you know, but since you asked, like she's one with pregnancy. Other patients, according to Dr. Hay, we have seen increase. Well, he doesn't have a randomized control trial. He's only treating the people he sees, but he's like, oh, we got euploid before. So he's comparing the patient from the before self. So there's only her comparing.
We can do it, right? Isn't that the only way we can do it right now? It's hard
right now, right? So, but supposedly the ideal of research is you do one group, both, you know, and then compare to PRP and no PRP. But right now it's only comparing her. Oh, you did PRP, so this happened.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Which is the primitive of math.
Okay, I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna go. But this was so lovely to catch up with you. And
it was amazing. Thank you so much. But Amy, I think we need to meet a little bit more.
I agree. Okay.
So we should talk to my team, your team, because PRP is something. There's so much have happened since last time.
Yeah, I know.
I haven't talked to you about laboratory management and all.
Yeah, let's talk. Okay.
I'll let you go.
We're gonna talk. Okay.
Bye.
Love. Bye. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.